Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Rad Gaming Podcast. I'm Pescador.
And I'm Jemshi. And in this episode of the podcast, we discuss the backlash gamers are having to the rising number of exclusives on the Epic Games Store. Then the US jumps on the bandwagon of banning content in video games. And then we discuss our predictions of what the world of gaming and online media will look like in the future.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Cento Fiore. Cento Fiore is a lifestyle fashion brand that sees beauty in cultural heritage and always strives to offer timeless and elegant style. Visit cento-fiore.com to join the family. That's CENTO-FIORI.com. Now on to the podcast.
So once again, we have Epic Games buying out another company to create another Epic Games Store exclusive.
Oh yeah, which one is it this time?
So now they have Outer Wilds.
Which is good. Tell me what it is, because I kind of saw a little bit of it, but I'm not really sure what it is.
From what I see, it's an open world. It looks a little bit like a survival-esque, because it seemed like it was very kind of that raw, like they're around a campfire kind of surviving to get food and stuff like that. They're traveling around the galaxies and stuff like that to kind of explore. So I'm assuming that it's
planetary exploration kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of an open world galaxy space game, which is ironically, it looks to be very similar to Outer Worlds. So there's Outer Wilds, Outer Worlds, and both of which are actually Epic Games Store exclusives.
Of course.
Now. But the twist here with Outer Wilds is that it was a crowdfunded game, and in the crowdfunding, they explicitly promised that the game would be released on Steam, which is, as we know, a direct competitor to the Epic Games Store. So now that it's an Epic Games Store exclusive,
how does that work?
Yeah, so the solution that they came up with was, we'll release it on Steam a year after we release it on the Epic Games Store, like 6 months to a year.
Oh.
So they're already like putting that, like, yeah, you're going to get it on Steam, but you can get it on Epic Games Store.
That makes
now.
sense. I mean, maybe you can correct me because I don't know the answer to this question. I can't remember, to be honest. We've covered it so many times, but I know Epic Games Store has made it easier for development of games and for game developers and companies like that, game publishers, to release their content on the Epic Games Store, and they gave them a big break on percentages.
Yeah, they're only taking 12%.
12%. I couldn't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's 12%.
Did Steam transfer?
Steam has 30%.
30%. It's still 30%.
30%.
Oh,
still.
That's what I wanted to know.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so they haven't released any big, announcement of changing their cut, because I'm assuming that they. If I was Steam, I would really want to wait. Like, I'm already making so much with this 30% cut on every sale. Yeah. So like for every $1, they're taking 30 cents, which is,
yeah.
But with that, you got to think that they're like, do people actually want to go to the Epic Games Store to buy games? Or is it like, are we actually still good?
But
like,
the question is, though,
why change the price if they're still okay?
Do you think that other game development or game industries are going to go to this standard now? Like, be like, okay, well, if I can release this game a year ahead of time on the Epic Games Store, making an Epic Game exclusive, and then go launch it to Steam for people that don't have it, they get less of, they don't get crushed by that huge percentage difference. So they make more money up front going to the Epic Games Store than eventually being like, okay, well, if you don't want to play on the Epic Games Store, we'll put it out for Steam a year later so you can still buy it eventually, just down the road.
I guess that's a good point. They know that the bulk of their sales are going to be upon release. The first, couple months of the game coming out, everyone downloads it and buys it and plays it because that's the new big game to play. And like you. I doubt that anybody's going to try to make a sleeper hit where they're like, I'll put it on the Epic Games Store. Maybe in 3 years it will be big. A lot of game developers know that they've got to, when they make a game, it's got to be good right off the bat, that people are instantly starting to, make it. Like if it's slowly growing, that's good. I don't know if there's going to be I
want to know the hit that's on Steam right now, though, man. Like, think about it. If I'm a game, any developer in general, I'm like, so incentivized by this huge break in percentages that you get for launching the game in the Epic Game Store, I honestly, as bad as it sounds, as much as I love Steam, I would be like, you know what? Why not make it a timed exclusive on the Epic Game Store and say I launch it maybe 6 months after on Steam? I mean, I would get 6 months worth of huge tax breaks, or not tax breaks, but percentage breaks. Yeah, exactly. So why wouldn't I want to do it that way in my mind?
Yeah, I think, like, I honestly, as a developer, I'd see that, okay, there's already, I think the number's like 250 million people have downloaded the Epic Game Store launcher, like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how many people have, like, downloaded it, at least played Fortnite at one time, is like around that number, 250 million, which is already insane. And so I guess they assume that, like, okay, well, it's kind of like a lot of people already have it. It's just a matter of, like, how attached are they to Steam? Because they weren't attached enough to play Fortnite. You know, like, if you're willing to play Fortnite, then it shows that they're not actually that attached to just the Steam store. They're willing to go somewhere else to play their games. But I guess they probably see it as, oh, Epic Game Store, Fortnite, and maybe that's the association they don't like.
Yeah,
you kind of, because I know that Fortnite's kind of geared towards a very younger audience.
Yeah,
and I can see that they're probably like, oh, I don't want to be buying games on like a kids store, is what they probably see it as, and I think that's why they're trying to bring over. They got Rocket League, you know, they're trying to bring over games.
Ghost Recon, Breakpoint, actually, they brought that over, which is crazy. I mean, it's for Ubisoft, and Ubisoft said that they were going to do this exclusive bit with the Epic Game Store, but that it's crazy to think all these games are going. I also know that there's another game. I think it's Dauntless. It's a free-to-play game. It's a 4-person RPG. It's kind of a co-op game. It's kind of set up just like Monster Hunter, which I saw the gameplay from it. It looks really sick, and I actually really enjoyed. I didn't buy Monster Hunter, as sad as it sounds. I played it with a friend a few times, and that game is extremely fun. And this game looks really awesome, and I'm actually really excited about it. But it's also going out in the Epic Game Store. Like, it doesn't. It's tough, man. They're launching on every platform, and they're like, okay, Steam, no. Epic Game Store, yes. And these big name games, and I can just see this game Dauntless doing very well. It just looks really good. It looks just like Monster Hunter, but it's free.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, would you play, Dauntless now that it's free? Or like, well, there's no... The only thing I'm paying into it is my time.
Yeah. But I personally, I would. I mean, I'll be 100% honest. Like, games like Apex, I don't purchase things. Like, I'll play it and I'll just go whatever way it goes. I don't buy the battle passes. I've only bought battle pass once, and I technically... It's for Rocket League, and I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I liked it. It was neat, but I was just like, I don't know about this. And I stopped playing Rocket League, so, like, I just wasted the money on the Battle Pass because I bought it in the beginning, and I played it for, like, 2 days, 3 days, like, quite heavily. Right. And then after that, it just dropped off.
The big benefit. But I think the one game that I feel like was the Season Pass was worth it was, the name is slipping my mind.
Explain it. Paint the picture.
Rainbow Six Siege. There we go.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Remember how I bought the pass and you didn't, and I had every character within 2 weeks or something, and you were still grinding out for your first character.
Yeah, I don't want to relive that actually.
So it's like when the difference is that big, it almost you almost have to buy the season pass. But I think those season passes are almost a lot more. Like, they cost a lot more than the Rocket League season passes. So I guess that does make sense that you get more out of your pass.
Yeah.
But
so this kind of goes into my next point, and you're talking about play to win, all that stuff like that. So I know that there was a legislation that was trying to be passed, actually, and if I remember this gentleman's name, his name is Josh Hawley, and what's crazy is he's a Republican from Missouri, and he's trying to pass this legislation to stop game companies from passing things like loot crates, basically anything that's pay to win or any loot box type games. And I think it's crazy.
This is for all of the U.S., right?
Yes.
So it's already kind of like you kind of want to support it, but at the same time you kind of wonder what would happen, if that were to be passed, because that they're going to try to find other ways to make money that aren't from loot boxes, which for just to catch everyone up, loot boxes are just the you get a box and you open it and you get something random. There's a chance that you get something, a rare item, or something common. And you can also pay to buy these loot boxes, but it's kind of like buying a lottery ticket. You may not get the prize, that you're actually hoping to get, I guess.
So it entices people to buy more and get it.
Yeah, so it incentivizes you to buy more because you could play the game for a day and get one box, or you could pay, maybe $10 and then boom, you've already got 10 boxes. So it's like, why play all day if I could just pay $10 or something, like extreme example. So that's what I was saying. So if they were to ban that, like, I know they're trying to kind of cut down on like gambling addiction, but like habits or something for younger kids, because that is a little worrying. But and
that's the thing, though. It says that it's for games that are marketed towards players that are under the age of 18. So where do you draw the line? I mean, technically anyone can play a game. You know what I mean? Like,
right? Like Fortnite is like, a lot of the pro players are probably older teen or high. I'm not saying that there's younger teens that are pro Fortnite players, but like a lot of the people are like a lot older. So like, at what point does it become like, okay,
like would they classify? I mean, I would assume that they classify Fortnite in that sense. I'm not 100% sure if that's how that would work, but I don't know. Like,
right, but
a game like Fortnite, sorry,
Halo, like.
That's what I said.
That one,
yeah, and
like, that's like a.
Where do you draw the line, and like, how do they define this? You know what I'm saying? Like, do they?
Because because I like every
sense.
game. Like, I would think, like, if I was developing a game, why would I be like, I'm only marketing it towards adults or kids? Like, why not be like, well, it works for both, so why not just market it for both? Like, Fortnite looks a little childish, a little bit like they got kind of cartoony characters, but the gameplay is just as intense as another shooter game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, is it just the art style? Like, at what?
And that's the thing. Like, it's tough to say, because I know a lot of my friends. They're older. They play Call of Duty, and they like the battle royale part of the new Call of Duty. But there's a lot of younger kids that play that game. So how do they justify saying that, oh, it's a kid game, when it's how do they market it that? So you're stopping that from, you're trying to say it's like for people that are under the age of 18, but yet you have this wide range of ages that play that game.
Yeah, I guess they would probably have some kind of like age verification, like, oh, I sign up, and
but that doesn't work.
Yeah, but like, that's what I see them doing. Like, okay,
wait,
they're 13, they sign up, and
but for example, Facebook had like an age blocker, and you can only join Facebook and some social media sites if you're at a certain age, and well enough that there's like 10-year-olds on there that's not supposed to. I think it was like, I can't remember the age,
like,
but
that's us. Yeah, but like, they could have some kind of age block where like they don't let you access loot boxes until you're 18. And like you said, like, there is that problem that like you could just sign up and make an account saying, "Hey, I'm 25. What are you gonna do? Like, check my ID." Like,
how are you gonna like monitor this? It's just very interesting.
Right, but I think it's kind of like Facebook. Like, what can Facebook do? Like, they can only do so much. They assume that maybe.
But I guess they rid their hands of that and just say like, "Hey, we tried," kind of thing. So
right, like, if you are lying, I bet you if you read the terms and conditions. Which we've all checked the box on that we've read, but like, that's another lie everyone's probably
exactly.
But like, if you read it, they probably have like, if you lie on your age, we are not liable for any rules or laws that are broken by signing up and what you do on the site or something. Like, I bet you that's how they get around it, and that's how I would assume they do it here. But like you said, like, is it going to actually remove it, or is everyone going to be like, oh, when I sign up, I just got to make sure that every time I sign up to any game, I'm 18 plus. And then now you have no idea what your actual age demographic is on a game.
I would love to see the way they worded the legislation, because I can see just people just being like, if it's worded like loot boxes, be like, oh, well, let's name it something else. So it's not a loot box, but it's, a gift randomly generated, or, you know what I mean? Like, they'll random generator gift thing, you know what I mean? They can find loopholes and make new things that are kind of similar. I want to see the wording. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just gonna assume that they're gonna like have a definition. Like, what is
exactly?
Like, every law, like.
But I'm saying, everyone knows and finds loopholes in government. Like, that's what happens all the time.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can see them actually accomplishing with this would be putting out the actual percentages of probability for like each loot box, because sometimes you can like the chances of winning is like so small that you're like, I might as well just go play the lottery or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Or they might just give it to the fact that they're like, okay, well, if you want this specific item now, you'll pay $50. So it's not gambling, but you can pay to unlock it, but it's an astronomical amount of money. So you can unlock it. It's there. You can see it. And then they'll be like, anything else, it's just going to be randomly generated in this. Like, you know what I'm saying? The pieces that people want are going to be bought separately outside of their loot boxes, and they can specifically say what is in these loot boxes now. But what's the fun in that?
Yeah, you kind of think because it's going to change how games are played, and is that something that, like, I know we've always talked about how like predatory it is for game companies to find all the ways they can make money.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like, will it change the way our games are played? Are we going to have another, like, the next loot box? You know, like, what's the next thing that they're going to be like, well, this is predatory. They're trying to get more money out of this or something.
What, next, like, battle passes?
Oh, well, what if... Yeah, because, like, what if it's just something as simple like, oh, well, if you have a battle pass, you don't have to wait a minute to play the game. You know, like, you can just, like, you have a timer that waits and, you know, like, oh, if I die, I have to wait a minute before I can load back into the game. Like, there's nothing... Like, is that predatory where you're like, oh, we'll pay more money to play the game, more games or something? Is that, you know, because it's like, it's not really pay to win, because it's like, okay, I guess if you grind out more, you get more coins. So if you can grind, I don't know, like, it's how many like different scenarios can they go through?
I think it's just a little ridiculous that the government's trying to fixate on these specific things. Like, do they have statistics that back up that it's terrible for, you know, these kids are actually being affected by these loot crates? This is the question I'm having. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's the stats to back that up? Do they have the stats? I don't know. That's what I want to know.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Like, is it even a problem to begin with, you know?
I mean, I'm sure there's some people who are just, like, complaining about it. Like, parents and things are like, oh, it's addictive to my kids and it's gambling. Do something about it. But, like, where's...
I won't do anything, but somebody else should do something.
Yeah.
That's not... Like, I feel like if I'm a parent, I won't rely on somebody else to, you know, make the world... I feel like my mentality would be, I'm going to raise my kid to navigate the world on their own, not have the world, you know, guide my kid for, you know what I mean? Like, I would like to think that. So
I would like to think that.
Like, who knows how my kids will end up.
I think it's ridiculous, though, but that's just my opinion. I don't think the legislation will pass at all. But, I mean, this is probably the next step for the government in general, is trying to really regulate what goes through our games. I mean...
Yeah, I do think that you have a good point there, because it is, like, the first time we've really seen, like, legislation, like, they're really pushing it now. Like, this guy is really trying to get this law passed, even though it might not. But the fact that it's already there, they now have a precedent where they're like, hey, when this comes up, like, maybe another year from now, they're like, hey, well, last year we did this, and, like, showing that it's an issue, you know, like,
yeah.
Sometimes it's just the fact that they can show that we've been trying to do this for so long, because, you know, if it wasn't an issue, then why would we keep coming in here every year to propose this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they can always pull that too, where it's like, I don't know. Sometimes you think that some laws are not, I don't know. I would think that's like almost not necessary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do kind of feel like it's a little annoying when you're like, I can't play this game without...
It's just it's ridiculous, though, in my opinion. You just see so many countries trying to ban certain types of video games, like things they deem addictive to kids, and it all comes back to parenting, in my opinion. I don't think that it should be run by the government or regulated by the government. I mean, that's just another part of it. I just think it's...
Right. I guess it'd be like this, where it's like, like, you know, Chuck E. Cheese's?
Yeah, of course I do.
Right. Like, is that a little bit of gambling where you put your coin in the game and you play it and you win a certain amount of tickets?
Next, they're going to start banning Chuck E. Cheese games.
Right. Like, is that gambling, or is that like...
That's what I'm saying. Where do you draw the line? I don't know.
Right, because it's like, well, whose fault is it then? Is it Chuck E. Cheese, or is it the parent that brought their kid to play at Chuck E. Cheese?
Is it bad that inside of Red Dead Redemption 2 that they have gambling, they have poker? Like, is that bad? Because kids under the age of 18, technically, they shouldn't be able to do it, but, you know, parents buy their kids games, therefore their kid has the game that you can actually physically gamble inside of. Like, where do you draw the line? That's what I say. Like, it's like,
but the kid, like, most likely the kid didn't buy the game for themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So the parent, like, it's almost like the parent taking the kid to Chuck E. Cheese. Like, the parent bought the game for the kid. So whose fault is it, the game or the parent? You know,
yeah,
like,
I'm saying, like, if they're trying to ban those types of things, like the next step or one of the steps that I'm sure they're going to try to pull next time would be like any depiction of gambling inside of a game is banned as well. Like, so people can't gamble in games. At least that's
right. That's like reminds me of how we talked about how China has been banning all violence.
India too.
All imperial themes and stuff.
Yeah,
like, it's just like, how far are they going to start banning? Because, like, you got to think, like, okay, no gambling. What about, like, you know, all those poker apps, and, like, you don't actually pay any money, but you're, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not actually wagering any real money. It's just like you having a fake money that you're, you know, playing with.
I just feel like it's just any spin on anything can be really technically gambling. It's just tough to say, and it's so tough to regulate. I mean, I don't know. It's a very very touchy line that the government runs sometimes. I feel it just getting their hands in video games just makes me think that they just want to get their hands in video games. It doesn't make sense to me. I understand that they deemed it like they said kids are more violent from playing video games, and that adds to, you know, other things that unfortunately happen in the world we live in today. But I mean, they're just going off of things they believe and people do, statistics.
Like, I think my counter to that always has been, before video games, did kids ever get in fights? Like,
yeah, of course.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, were they ever non-violent? Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems to me like it's just like their kids play video games and they just try to make a correlation as to why their kid is rowdy, you know?
Yeah.
And they could say, like, oh, I see it in video games, so they're going to try to do it in real life, you know? And, like, what about movies, you know? It's the same thing. Like, are violent movies, you know...
Yeah, and
I don't know. Like, there's so many things where it's like, at what point do you just say, okay, you know, your kid is kind of up to you? Like, that's how I think it should be. Like, you know, like, I'm not saying that violence is, like, okay, but
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, okay, you should be able to make those decisions. Like, there's law that say, okay, no violence, but not, I don't know. Like, it's
that's what I'm saying. It's a thin line that they walk on, a very gray line, and I don't think that they can figure out what to do, and that's why I don't believe it's going to pass. Like, it's just, where do you draw the line in any of those parts? I honestly don't know, and the statistics aren't going to be there because people that do statistics on video games, it's just like everything's skewed. Like, all the statistics that they pull out are skewed, and there's just nothing backing this information up, in my opinion. I just don't see it going anywhere. But I do have one last question for you. I know that we're talking about ways things are going and the way that the world that we live in today, but do you see anything happening to movie theaters? So if you think about how people go to the movies, do you like going to the movies, for one, Jemshi?
Oh, yeah.
Do you enjoy going out to the movies and paying the big box office ticket prices?
I think it depends on what theater you go to. Like, there are some that have, like, the nice theaters, you know, those are the ones I'll probably go to, where I feel like, you know...
But do you actually enjoy that, is the question.
I think it depends. If I'm going on an opening night, I probably won't, you know, enjoy it as much, because I feel like it's, like, I don't know. It's like, it depends on what I actually want to go for. Do I want to go to the movie, or do I want to go for the crowd experience? You know, it's kind of like watching a baseball game.
Yeah, I guess.
You know,
but there's your other point, too. But attendance is down in sporting events, and I'm not sure about the statistics more or less in movie theaters, but honestly, the way it's panning out to be, I'm sure that this is going to make a similar trend eventually. And it's funny because they've done statistics on, like, sporting events, and they say that money isn't the issue for people not attending the sporting events. It's actually, you get a better experience being at home now than you do going to the game. So you have to put up with crowds, and you have to put up with
parking.
Yes,
and then trying to leave.
Yeah, my next point, what I'm trying to bring this whole thing in, like, what do you see for the future of theaters? Like, do you think they're still going to be there? Do you think they're going to go to something else, like a Netflix kind of thing, streaming to your house?
I've actually thought about that. So what I think is that movie theaters will kind of phase out, and then all of a sudden there's going to be this big, grand new thing that comes out called the movie theater, where you can watch movies with other...
The app called The Movie Theater.
Right, like it's gonna be like reinvented, and then everyone who's like never been to a movie theater will be like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" Like it's just gonna like come back.
Dude, I'm thinking VR. I'm thinking you're in the movie theater at your house, just like looking around. You see other people. You know, you see Tim from work. You're over there.
Coming in phasing. You know, I don't.
I was just
think
kidding.
That'd be funny.
No, but I
could see that. Like there would be another way to experience movies, but
yeah,
the only thing that I see as a perk as watching a movie from home as opposed to watching it at a theater, I can pause the movie at home.
Oh yeah,
and go to the bathroom or something, or like go get the food.
And that was a part of it for me. Even Endgame, man. Like towards the end, I'm like, God, I gotta use the restroom. Like I didn't want to go, obviously, and I'm like really like, come on, you know, I really want to see this ending, but like it needs to end soon because I'm gonna use the restroom. I need to use the restroom. So I don't know. It begs the question, more or less, like, do you think that things are going to go to make it easier for individuals to go to certain things?
I would say so, because their TV sales are up, which means more people are at home watching TV.
Yeah.
TVs are becoming cheaper because the only way for TVs to become cheaper is if people are buying them. Yeah. So better and bigger TVs are coming into people's homes, meaning that people are spending more money on their own home theater system. Correct. Everybody's got their own. So I see it happening. That's why I see Netflix growing in popularity and like all kinds of streaming services, which is why I think like, you know, even a lot of stores like Amazon, like people don't even go to the store anymore.
I don't, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I buy stuff off of Amazon. I mean, the only thing I get at stores anymore is groceries. Like,
right. But once like Amazon, like I think they have a grocery service, but I think it's only in California or something, or certain areas.
I never even looked at it because I don't. You know, I'd rather pick out my food physically. It makes more sense to me.
I think that's the one thing that's really interesting. I agree with you, because I think it'd be like, oh, I want to get bananas. Like, there's a certain like yellow, green, brown ratio that I like to have in my bananas.
Yeah.
When I pick them out, you know, and
exactly.
It's like, I don't think the person there is gonna like. Am I gonna come
truly care? Like they'll be like, oh, these bananas are good enough. They're mostly green, but who cares? You know?
Right? Because like that's the thing where like, I would rather not pick the bananas if I didn't want to pick any. But if I tell somebody to go get them for me, or like pick from whatever's out there, you know, I don't know. That's the thing, right? I would think that there's a line that if they can fix it, like what if they can do like a check mark, like, hey, here's a picture of it. Do you want to review? Check, and then boom, it will be delivered to you. Then like, I don't know.
We're gonna be lazy.
A lot of people are just gonna be at their house all day working from home. There's even work from home jobs. Like, is there going to be a reason to leave your house anymore?
That's horrifying to think. Yeah, like
the only reason you leave your house is to go to somebody else's house to experience their house experience.
And soon you're just gonna be like, okay, well here, like they'll FaceTime you and be like, here's my house, you know. And that's
like that VR headset where they're like they can just like put up like a 360 camera. You put on a headset and boom, here you are sitting next to them. Or something.
I just can't imagine. Just oh man,
and then people are going to discover the outside, because like, what if like even schools? I know, like I'm just going all in on this topic. Like, what if even schools, like you just had like a room in your house where your kids sat in and just went to school. Like there was somebody on. Like,
what are you saying? You're saying that like down the road when people like buy and sell houses, but like, and this room was a little school room for the kids that go online virtually.
Like, I know, like it's almost like homeschool, except like online classes or something, where you have a professor that kind of teaches, and then they can sit there and like kind of like Twitch chat. They can just chat in with the professor, like, "Hey, I have a question," and then he's like, "Oh."
Can you imagine people just talking unruly and then be like, "Stop talking," you know? And then people just on chat being like, "Ooh,
can I get an F in chat for something?" I would be hilarious if the teacher was like, "That's how it was." He'd be like, "All right, what do you guys think?"
Conduct F.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, man.
I'm not seeing enough participation in chat, you know. I can see this happening, and that's how I even see colleges. That's actually the solution I see to a lot of these expensive colleges, is that a lot of the cost comes from, you know, rooming and classrooms and all those building upkeep. Like, I think that if you had everybody was just at home, online classes would be cheap.
Have one at Arizona, like, or something like that.
Like, yeah, but like even the professor could be like at home. Like he could have, instead of his like classroom room, he has like the teaching room where he goes in there and he teaches, and then he goes, you know, I'm gonna go over.
I'm waiting to the day that everything is like a 3D hologram, kind of like Star Wars kind of thing. That's impressive. But then how do you socialize? How, like, people are gonna be socially inept. Like, going, like if you have to go somewhere and do something, God forbid if you have to like go somewhere.
You don't have to go anywhere. Yeah, like God forbid you have to go somewhere.
And then people are just gonna be like a weird awkward wave and like
I bet you there's going to be a class
to teach you how to socialize.
Teach you how to socialize.
That's horrifying.
Like, here's like conversation starters, and like everyone out there in the world has like a list, and like when they ask you this question, this is what you should say, and then like somebody throws in like the hey, what's up, and they're like, dude, wait, that's not on the list.
I want to know how they're gonna do gym. Like how would they go about that? Like,
I don't know, go run over to Jimmy's house and run back. That'd be your gym for the day. I don't know. That's the thing. A
virtual gyms.
Yeah, what would they do for physical activity? Because I think that is a government speaking of government regulations, that's why I mentioned this.
Yeah, right?
That's actually do.
Good tie-in.
I think they require a certain amount of like physical activity up until
they do.
I think middle school or something. Because I think even in high school, you don't have to actually take like a gym class every single year.
Really? Well, man, I was duped because I took gym every single year.
Yeah, we only had to take a certain 1.5 credits, I think, of some kind of physical.
Dang, I didn't even have that.
So that would be like 2 semesters.
That's it? That's all you had to do? I had to do it every semester.
So imagine that was me. Like I did it freshman and sophomore year. Had 2 semesters where I went like gym weightlifting class or something like that. So it's just like, what? Like I don't know. I guess like there'd have to be like outdoor. I don't know. Maybe they could have clubs still. Like well, what would happen to the sports teams? I guess you would have
esports teams. Boom, done.
We'll play basketball through
VR. Yeah. Can you imagine?
I guess that would be interesting if you had like if there's enough VR that you could just go into like a little those like
I had a really funny vision. I was envisioning like I got to take Timmy to this basketball game. You run him upstairs and put him in a VR headset. And you're like, let's watch him. Everyone's in a room with you, just putting their VR headset on and just watching you play basketball. Like,
well, they probably could even just watch it on their phone. Let's say that they're
That's a good point too. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, watch the hologram, like the VR virtual reality through like the.
But then you get to awkwardly watch Timmy shoot 3 throws like in invisibility, like he's just like. You can just see him go, dang it, and you don't see anything. Like,
yeah, you hear dang it upstairs in his room, and all of a sudden, like on the screen, you're like, oh, he must miss this shot because there's probably a latency, like a lag or something.
Oh my goodness,
it'd be an interesting world. I would. I'd be interested to see it, but I'm not sure the the cons outweigh the pros, or whatever word I'm trying to say there.
The pros and cons of said.
Yeah,
happening?
like say that they balance out. Like
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I do like socializing. I do like actually being next to somebody and being able to see their facial reaction. Like maybe you could see that in the VR game's future.
I see you. I see your reaction right now, but I mean. I feel like we're socializing, but yet we're not, and like you're missing that physical aspect of it.
Right, like there is the whole body language aspect of it too, where like, there's all that stuff.
But one can argue, I can see your body. You know what I mean? Like it's just, ugh. I don't know.
Yeah, how much of the body do you actually need to see? Because I thought like it was even saying that like, the words are only like a small amount of what you actually say. Like I could say like, "Hey, what's up?" but I could be like. Hey, what's up?
I'm really interested to see like in events. Like I know that there's a Triple Crown winner. What was his name? Or he was going for the Triple Crown. What was the horse's name? Something with a W. I can't remember. But he ended up losing because of he went over 3 lanes or something. He was like in search of the Triple Crown. Like I could just see sports going over to some virtual reality, crazy augmented world, and the horses are like. That'd be really weird and interesting to see that. Like, how can you replace that? I don't know.
Yeah, because you would almost have to be like, which computer AI within these certain limitations can run faster than yours? Like
yeah. How do you determine? I don't know.
Because there are things like such as evolutionary algorithms where like they can start. Doing that, but I feel like at some point, I don't know.
My horse can go 3,000 miles per hour. Try to stop him.
Like they could optimize it some way, but then at what point is it like?
Yeah, I don't know. We're just getting into some ridiculous realm of like nonsense and make believe right now, but it's fun. I enjoy talking about that kind of stuff.
That's the kind of stuff I dream about at night. I have these crazy dreams.
Ah, well, you sleep a lot, so I can imagine you're just dreaming this world.
That's why I don't want to wake up.
I guess so. You know, like Ready Player One. I still need to watch that, by the way. I heard that was a really good movie. But nonetheless, I'm going to have to go watch that. But it's going to be like that one day. And everyone's just kind of like running back to a virtual world that they live in and play it.
Everyone's going to be used to it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like I said, the movie theaters are going to become a thing. Do you want to get out of your house and go watch a movie with other people?
And people are going like, nope. Because I don't know how to socialize anymore. Because that's just the world we live in.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever else you listen to podcasts. We release a new episode every Wednesday and Friday. And as always, stay rad, comrades.